The end of the world has arrived, and the world is frozen. Blue Star suddenly encountered an unknown cold current, and it instantly entered the Ice Age. Heavy snow fell for a month, and the death toll exceeded 90%. The temperature is gradually rising, but to our surprise, ancient viruses are resurfacing, and a terrible catastrophe is about to come. All the dead humans are resurrected. After the zombie, the temperature rapidly increased, glaciers and snow melted, and seawater flooded the coastal city. Next, strange beasts appeared in the sea and began attacking cities and residents. In his previous life, Chen Fan was out searching for food when he encountered a large army of zombies and was directly bitten to death by them. 3 days before his rebirth and return to the apocalypse, Chen Fan unexpectedly discovered that the ancestral ring had spatial ability. He sold the game company, mortgaged his property and car. Started crazily hoarding supplies. Chapter 1. Rebirth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Don't surround me, hurry up and leave. Chen Fan was holding a baseball bat and dispersing the zombies surrounding him. His behavior undoubtedly ignited the anger of the zombies, attracting more zombies to besiege him. Not long. A group of zombies surrounded Chen Fan, feeling desperate, but he had no choice. He only hoped for miracles to happen, but unfortunately no one appeared to help him. 10 minutes ago, Chen Fanzong had been hungry at home for 3 days since the abnormal temperature and sudden snowfall. Chen Fan, with careful planning of food, finally persevered until the heavy snow stopped. To his surprise, there was an outbreak of zombies. Every time he went out to search for food, he was able to carefully avoid the group of corpses and survive in the post-apocalyptic environment for 6 months. Due to being surrounded by zombies near his home 3 days ago, he decided not to sit idly by anymore. He thought he could only fight it out, maybe there would be a way out, but he never expected to be surrounded by zombies. Just as he was bitten by a zombie, Chen Fan saw a white light flash past his eyes, and he immediately lost consciousness. Fan Gu, wake up quickly. A group of young people have been shaking Chen Fan's body. Chen Fan suddenly woke up and stood up directly from the sofa. Did I not die? Did I not die? Originally, Chen Fan was the chairman of a gaming company, a publicly listed company with a market value of several hundred billion yuan, becoming the dream person that most migrant workers cannot reach. Fan Gu, what nonsense are you talking about? We are currently building a team, it's your turn to sing. We ordered your favorite song, Red Rose, and handed him the microphone. Dreams that I couldn't wake up from. After singing a song, Chen Fan received enthusiastic applause, saying that the song he sang was very beautiful, and only then did everyone let him go. Brilliant lights occasionally shone on his face, and the noisy music in the room made Chen Fan uncomfortable. Chen Fan left the private room and walked into the bathroom. He turned on the faucet on the wash basin and washed his face, hoping to clear himself up with the cold water. He lifted his head and saw in the dressing mirror before him that he was still familiar with himself, without any change. He touched his whole body and found that he was not damaged either. Chen Fan took out his phone directly from his pocket and found that the time displayed on the screen was actually July 7, 2040 at 1:15. Is this a rebirth for me? He vividly remembers. At midnight on July 10, 2040, the temperature dropped sharply, followed by a heavy snowfall. The entire Blue Star animals and plants have died in large areas, and humans have also died more than 90% due to material shortages, with only a very small number of humans surviving. In this post-apocalyptic environment, the least valuable thing was money. At that time, money was simply worthless for food, and even wiping one's buttocks would feel like a barrier. A bag of bread, a sausage, and a bottle of water will all sell for exorbitant prices, and it will also make people go crazy for it, in order to survive, and thus make people lose their so-called dignity. In the apocalypse, in order to obtain a ham sausage, the goddess, who is usually aloof and resistant to people thousands of miles away, obediently obeys at her own feet, allowing herself to be ravaged no matter what. In the apocalypse, the least valuable thing is beauty. Many women, in order to survive, are willing to sell their bodies and souls. In the apocalypse, law and morality have long been empty words, reflecting human greed and evil as much as possible. Chen Fan knew that in the apocalypse, he could not show any sympathy towards anyone, and kindness towards others was cruelty towards himself. Did I actually go back 3 days before that terrible disaster? Chen Fan smiled bitterly and said, it seems that he only has 3 days to prepare. He needs to plan carefully before going home. Since God has given me the opportunity to live a new life, I must seize this opportunity and not let it down. He returned to the private room of the KTV and said that he was not feeling well. He had already settled the bill and you all had fun. If it wasn't enough, he would come back and claim reimbursement. Later, he bid farewell to his employees and they planned to take Chen Fan home, but he was directly refused by Chen Fan. Chen Fan called a taxi to return to his home. Now he hasn't fully recovered from his rebirth, and his eyes are still filled with a dull feeling. He wants to eat an apple first to suppress his shock. He began to peel the apple absent-mindedly, but accidentally broke his finger and blood quickly flowed out. Drip by drop the blood remained on the clean white floor, appearing particularly eye-catching, and it was only then that Chen Fan realized that his finger had been broken. At this moment, a drop of fresh blood fell directly onto the ring in his other hand. He wanted to take out a piece of toilet paper and wipe the ring off his finger. Unexpectedly, the blood on the ring was directly absorbed by the ring. Chen Fan was stunned and looked at the incredible scene before him. How could such a thing happen? It's a bit unbelievable. The ring in front of Chen Fan emitted a fiery red light, which made his eyes unable to open. The ring in front of him seemed to have a strong suction force, and Chen Fan's eyes turned black, entering a magical space directly. I saw a gray space in front of me, with no visible boundaries. I didn't know how big the space was, which made Chen Fan very happy. Does my ring awaken spatial abilities? After Chen Fan withdrew from the space of the ring, isn't this a huge mobile warehouse? This will no longer worry about supplies after the end of the world. This made Chen Fan particularly surprised by his incredible luck. He had bought this ring for 100 yuan at a street vendor. At first, Chen Fan looked at the simple and unadorned ring, and surprisingly bought it by a stroke of luck. He didn't expect it to give him such a big surprise. He wanted to experiment with the ring's ability with a nervous heart. Chen Fan then took out a bottle of chilled mineral water from the refrigerator and placed it on the table, thinking to bring the mineral water in front of him into the space. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, the mineral water on the table disappeared and appeared instantly in the space. Chen Fan jumped up with joy when he saw the mineral water in the space. A few hours later, it was discovered that the chilled mineral water in the space was still as if it had just been taken out of the refrigerator. At this point, Chen Fan could conclude that the mysterious space of this ring was static, and time would not pass. Next, it is necessary to quickly divest oneself of the gaming company and directly obtain a huge amount of funds in order to purchase as many materials as possible for future needs and improve the safety of one's residence. Chapter 2. Cash Out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Fan fell asleep unconsciously in the early morning. He has never slept so comfortably before, and since the terrible natural disaster, he has never slept as peacefully as he does now. Chen Fan didn't expect to wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning. Chen Fan lightly tapped his head, causing you to fall asleep and almost miss the main task. Then he took out his phone and directly called Mr. Zhou of WeChat Group. Even before Chen Fan's company, WeChat Group had intended to acquire Chen Fan's shares in order to control this promising company. Chen Fan has not agreed to this equity acquisition plan. Since Chen Fan was reborn and returned, he now knows that 3 days from now he will face that terrible natural disaster. Now, he only wants to sell his precious shares as soon as possible. Good morning, General Manager Zhou. Chen Fan chatted with General Manager Zhou for a while and immediately entered today's topic. After my careful consideration, I have decided to sell my shares to you. I wonder if Mr. Zhou has time at noon. Let's have a meal together and discuss the details in detail. Mr. Chen, I have been waiting for your good news all along. It's not until now that you finally let go. After hearing Mr. Zhou's words, Chen Fan also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Let's have lunch together at Ozan International Hotel this afternoon. We haven't seen each other for a long time, so we can meet our old friends and discuss the specific details of the acquisition. Okay. Let's not see each other, Zhou readily agreed. Chen Fan knew that his stock, which was originally worth 20 billion yuan, would definitely be heavily discounted. Chen Fan has no other choice now. In order to get the money as soon as possible, even if the loss is too much, it is still very worthwhile. If this transaction is not successful, after a terrible natural disaster occurs, his stocks will become worthless and have no effect at all. Chen Fan booked a private room in advance at the Ozan International Hotel in order to facilitate the negotiations at noon today. Chen Fan felt that it was still early, so he went to take a comfortable shower. When the warm water poured on him, it felt really comfortable. Chen Fan specially changed into casual clothes. Now in the midst of summer, Chen Fan's whole body is scorching and unbearable, which is vastly different from the weather 3 days later. After Chen Fan packed up, he specially took 2 bottles of Maotai liquor in order to ensure the smooth progress of today's negotiations. Chen Fan arrived early at Ozan International Hotel to welcome Mr. Zhou's arrival, to demonstrate his sincerity. Chen Fan looked at his phone and found that it was almost noon. Chen Fan knew that General Manager Zhou was about to arrive, so he came to the first floor to welcome General Manager Zhou. 10 minutes later. A Toyota Alphard business car slowly drove over and finally stopped at the entrance of the Ozan International Hotel. A middle-aged man in his 40s got off the car. Chen Fan walked up quickly and said, Mr. Zhou, welcome. It's been a long time since we last met. We must have a good drink this afternoon. Yeah. Brother Chen, we haven't seen each other for a long time. The two of them seemed to be very close friends, and they held their hands intimately. Definitely, since you are the host today, I will definitely give you a good beating, Mr. Zhou joked. The two of them came to the elegant room, chatting and laughing. Chen Fan placed the menu in front of Mr. Zhou and said, How many dishes do you want Mr. Zhou to order? Mr. Zhou smiled and said, We're all old acquaintances now. Why are you so polite to me? Then he didn't hold back and quickly ordered a few dishes. Chen Fan stood up and opened the pre-prepared Maotai liquor. After he started pouring the liquor for Mr. Zhou, the serving speed at Ozan International Hotel was very fast, and in a short while, most of the dishes were served. Chen Fan raised his glass and began to pay tribute to Mr. Zhou. After 3 rounds of dishes and 5 flavors of wine, the two finally entered today's theme. Mr. Zhou, are you still planning to spend the previous 15 billion dragon coins to acquire my stocks this time? Mr. Zhou smiled silently and sat there without speaking. Chen Fan's heart thumped for a moment. It seemed that this old man was going to kill the price hard. Mr. Zhou directly stated a number. 13.5 billion. I have discussed with our board of directors and decided that we can only offer so much money at most. Let's see what you mean here. Chen Fan no longer hesitates, he wants to get this money as soon as possible. Chen Fan asked Mr. Zhou in confusion, Do you know how long it will take for this money to be credited? After the contract is signed, it will definitely be credited within 3 days. If that's the case, the yellow cauliflower may have cooled down, and then I won't be able to buy a lot of supplies myself. Chen Fan said, 13 billion yuan, I want to receive it immediately. After Mr. Zhou heard it, a subtle smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Mr. Zhou said to Chen Fan, Brother, this is not 120,000 yuan. It's over 10 billion yuan. What should I do if you ask me to immediately spend so much money? Chen Fan knew that Mr. Zhou had been struggling in the business world for many years and had already developed a pair of keen eyes. He saw that Chen Fan was in urgent need of money, and he wanted to continue to lower the price. Chen Fan understood Mr. Zhou's caution and did not directly poke him. Now he wants to get the money quickly. Then he directly asked, I don't know how much Mr. Zhou can offer. Let me hear it out loud. If that's not possible, Chen Fan could only agree to Mr. Zhou's amount. 11 billion. Chen Fan directly greeted Mr. Zhou's ancestors for 18 generations in his heart, damn it. This is to take advantage of the fire and plunder. The original value of 20 billion yuan has been suppressed to over 10 billion yuan. If it weren't for the urgent need for this money, I wouldn't have agreed. After careful consideration, Chen Fanzi wouldn't have made do with it first. Chen Fan pretended to show a particularly heartbroken look and said, Mr. Zhou, you're a bit too ruthless. You've cut so much at once, you can't let me compensate so much. Mr. Zhou doesn't care whether he pays or not, but he knows he must have made several billion this time, which is a valuable investment for him. Both parties agreed on the price during the negotiation, and after carefully reviewing the contract, there were no issues. Chen Fan signed the contract. Mr. Zhou was afraid that Chen Fan would back out, so he quickly stamped the contract and instructed the finance department to quickly transfer the money to Chen Fan's card. $1 billion equity transaction contract was completed. Chen Fan started chatting and laughing with Mr. Zhou, and after eating and drinking enough, Chen Fan sent Mr. Zhou away. Chen Fan sat on the chair, thinking about his next actions. He planned to purchase materials and set his sights on the Baoyan supermarket group. Chapter 3. Super Large Customers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He was still thinking about what to do next when he received a text message from China Construction Bank directly on his phone. Dear customer, at 13.15 on July 7th, your debit card account, ending in 001, wired a deposit of Dragon Coin 1,100,000,000 yuan, with a real-time balance of Dragon Coin 11,124,184,921 yuan. This is to remind you. He looked at the amount of money in his bank card, and now he can start the buy mode. Chen Fan said he can do it, as he had a drink at noon. He definitely can't drive anymore, he doesn't want to spend the next few days in the detention center. He called a taxi directly and arrived at Baoyan Supermarket Group, the largest chain supermarket in Zhonghai City. Hello, could you bring your leader over? I have a business deal that I would like to discuss with you. Wait a moment, then. Not long after, a person appeared to be a supervisor. Hello sir, I heard from the waiter that you want to discuss a business deal. Yes, I would like to ask how much money you can be the owner now. About 100,000 yuan, that's too little. You call your biggest leader and I want to talk to him about an order worth billions. The billions of orders directly frightened the supervisor in front of them. It took a long time before I realized it. You can take a break here first, and I'll quickly report the situation on your end. Hurry up, I'm very anxious. Chen Fan also knows that the procedures of such large companies are particularly troublesome. Okay. I got it. I'll be back in at most half an hour. Chen Fan leisurely drank cappuccino here, waiting for the arrival of their company's senior management. Chen Fan boredly began searching online for decoration companies that renovated houses. Later, when I saw a decoration company, I directly called and said, hello, may I ask if it is Huamei Decoration and Decoration Company, Limited? Yes, sir. Do you have any decoration needs? I want to decorate the villa, just the simplest way. That's to upgrade the underfloor heating and insulation system. Can you finish it in 2 days? As for the money, that's not a problem. There should be no problem. However, in the end, we still need you to come to the company to discuss in detail, and we will provide you with the best design plan. Do you have time? Then you can wait for me for a while. I'll be over later. Could you please send me your company address on my phone? After Chen Fan hung up the phone from the decoration company, a man in his 30s walked over and said, "Hello, I am Zhang Ming, the person in charge of the supermarket." "Hello, Manager Zhang." After a brief greeting between the two, Chen Fan was invited to a dedicated reception room by Zhang Ming, and the secretary even brought Chen Fan a cup of green tea. After the two of them took their seats, they began their formal conversation today. "My time is quite tight, I'm not sure if you can meet my needs. Sir, please rest assured that we are the largest chain supermarket in Zhonghai City, with the strongest supply chain system. As long as you have a demand here, we can definitely meet your requirements." Chen Fan carefully thought about what specific things he needed before coming. "I now need the following list. Beverages. Mineral water, bottled water, various beverages, yogurt, milk, fruit juice, milk powder, fruit tea and grain drinks, protein drinks, etc. Tobacco and wine. Baijiu, red wine, beer, foreign wine, yellow rice wine, fruit wine, and all kinds of cigarettes, as well as foreign cigars. Leisure food. Dried tofu and spicy sticks, puffed food, braised meat jerky, chocolate, fish and seafood, jelly pudding, various cakes, biscuits, bread, and various kinds of nuts and candied fruits, various kinds of cans, etc. Grain and oil fast food. Vermicelli, instant noodles, self-heating hot pot, instant congee rice, rice flour oil, quick-frozen food, various condiments, ham and bacon, ham sausage, various dry goods, miscellaneous grains and beans, baking materials, etc. Tea. Black tea, green tea, oolong tea, pu'er, white tea, black tea, yellow tea, etc. Fruits. Melons, pears, peaches, various precious fruits, and various imported fruits from foreign countries. Next are daily necessities, sports equipment, clothing, beauty, mother and baby, and home textiles. Daily necessities. Anthracite, bottled gasoline, bottled diesel, alcohol, etc. Sports equipment. Baseball bat and fencing, skiing, mountaineering equipment, winter clothing, various fitness equipment. Clothing. Men's clothing, women's clothing, underwear, etc. Beauty. Men's care, hair care, water emulsion face cream, lipstick, makeup, facial cleaning, facial mask, beauty tools, etc. Maternal and child. Toys and entertainment, strollers, children's clothing, trendy anime, diapers and wet wipes, children's shoes, milk powder, pregnant women's clothing, etc. Home textiles. Bed sheets, duvet covers, blankets, bedding, etc. I also need beef, pork, lamb, chicken, fish, scallops, salmon, shrimp, crabs, Armas caviar, Kobe beef, French foie gras, Iberian ham, bolognese, etc. I just thought of these things for now. I have taken all the supplies you can mobilize in the next 2 days. I will give you a deposit of 1 billion yuan first, and let's sign a contract. Then, you can store all the prepared supplies in the warehouse for me. Finally, we will calculate the total value in the warehouse and I will make up for the remaining balance. What do you think? After hearing Chen Fan's words, Zhang Ming was stunned. Is this shopping? This is not a naked local tyrant. It's so his mother rich. Both parties signed a commodity purchase contract on a friendly basis, waiting for the agreed time to arrive. After seeing off Chen Fan, Zhang Ming quickly walked to the finance room and asked the accountant if he had just received a payment of 1 billion dragon coins. Leader, how do you know? I watched the other party transfer the money. Zhang Ming walked out of the finance room, his mood almost uncontrollable. Zhang Ming took out his own phone and urgently called the leaders of the group back to the company for a meeting. Today I received an extremely large order, with an estimated trade volume of over 10 billion. Let's quickly contact our suppliers and ask them to quickly transfer all the goods to Zhonghai City. These supplies are coming from our side first. The other party has requested that as long as there is food, drink, accommodation, and transportation, everything is fine. Also, hurry up and lease all 500 warehouses in the economic development zone to prepare for storing the goods for this shipment. Now the entire group of Baoyan Supermarket Group has cancelled all vacations and fully invested in work. Zhang Ming has also made a commitment to work for 48 hours and double the year-end bonus for each person. Everyone's work enthusiasm is very high. I want to complete all the tasks assigned by the leader. Baoyan Supermarket Group began working overtime, but after leaving Baoyan Supermarket Group, Chen Fan took a taxi and flew towards Huamei Decoration. Chapter 4. Renovation of Houses. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Half an hour later, Chen Fan finally arrived at the front door of Huamei Decoration and Decoration Company, Limited. Chen Fan entered the company directly and found that it was not particularly large, but it was also considered average. Chen Fan saw that the company's strength was relatively good. Chen Fan walked in directly and saw the receptionist in front calling out to Chen Fan, "Hello, sir. Who are you looking for?" "I don't know who to look for either. I called you before to make an appointment. I think you should call your leader over and I'll talk to him about a big deal." In front of me, I started flipping through the previous appointment list and finally found the content of Chen Fan's appointment. "Hello, sir. Are you interested in renovating insulation and underfloor heating projects?" "Yeah." "You go in." Miss in front of me personally led Chen Fan directly to the reception room. "Sir, please wait a moment, I will invite the leader over." "Okay, thank you." Chen Fan noticed that although the company in front of him was not big, the service was still quite good. Chen Fan sat directly on the sofa in the living room and found that the decoration style of the living room was ancient and simple. It seems that the boss is still a literary enthusiast. Not long after, a man approached Chen Fan and said, "I am Lan Tian, the owner of Huamei Decoration and Decoration Company, Limited." Chen Fan stood up and looked at the young man in front of him, wearing a pair of golden glasses and appearing polite. The two greeted each other and then got to the main topic. "This boss doesn't know what kind of requirements you want, and also, where is your community located?" "My community is located in the Jinqiu Shangqing Villa area. I plan to add a fireplace and underfloor heating system indoors, and then install a layer of insulation throughout my house. Then, I need to replace the wall of my community with a 500 mm thick wall, with a height of 10 meters. A 3-meter high serrated wire mesh needs to be installed at the top of the wall, and glass slag needs to be laid around the wire mesh. Of course, these wire meshes need to be electrically powered, and our doors need to be replaced, with materials of the same level as bank safes." After hearing what Chen Fan said, Lan Tian found out that his villa was indeed being upgraded and renovated. "Why do you always feel like this is creating a prison?" Lan Tian won't delve into the specifics of what he's doing. Just give money to handle the matter. After Chen Fan finished speaking, he looked at the boss in front of him and remained silent. Chen Fan is quite puzzled and doesn't know if they can complete their renovation task. "I can only give you 2 days for construction, how do you feel? Can it be completed? If so, I'll sign a contract with you now and give you 10 million yuan. I just want to speed up and give you a prepayment of 2 million first. If you can complete it on time, I will give you a bonus of 5 million. Chen Fan's series of actions directly stunned the man in front of him, thinking to himself that this kid is not seriously ill. After the two of them finalized the contract, Chen Fan directly transferred the 2 million deposit to their company account. As the sky gradually darkened, Lan Tian decided to take Chen Fan to have some dinner tonight. "Mr. Chen, please wait for me for a moment. I need to quickly arrange the task." After Lan Tian asked Chen Fan for the location and keys of his home, he began to order the construction to start tonight. He transferred all the labor from the company to Chen Fan's house to help him complete the decoration task on time. After arranging everything, Lan Tian got in the car and took Chen Fan to the Michelin restaurant, ready to entertain Chen Fan well. Chen Fan did not refuse, as there happened to be someone accompanying him for dinner. Chen Fan had always wanted to come to a Michelin restaurant for a meal before, but he was too busy with work and never had the opportunity to taste its home flavor. Chen Fan has never been here before, and I heard that this Michelin has a 3-star level. I don't know if it's true or not. The two of them didn't order too many dishes, and in line with the fine tradition of saving and not wasting, they only ordered 4 dishes. The amount of dishes was not very large, but they were served beautifully and the taste felt good. After the two finished their meal, Chen Fan decided to go to the only 5-star hotel in Zhonghai City. Ausan International Hotel, which he had never stayed here before and could be considered to have a good time in the apocalypse. After Chen Fan checked in, the front desk handed him the room card. The room number displayed on the room card is 609. Chen Fan took the elevator and went straight to the 6th floor. There was a long corridor in the middle, with a gray-white carpet on the ground. Walking on it felt very soft and comfortable, and there were also landscape paintings painted by unknown painters hanging on the wall. After Chen Fan entered the room, he found that it was about 50 square meters long, and the room decorations were all traditional Dragon Country elements, with an antique charm. Across from the double bed is a mahogany square table with 4 bottles of Evian mineral water placed on it. In the fruit tray, there are Qing Ti imported from Japan, and in the other tray, there are various dried fruits. Next to the fruit tray, there is an electric hot water kettle, and next to it, there is also imported black tea and a bottle of Huaihua honey. Chen Fan walked into the bathroom and found various skincare products on the wash basin. He carefully placed napkins on them, and next to them was a Geely plastic shaver and shaving solution. Jia Jia's toothpaste and Shiseido's toiletries were neatly arranged on the wash basin. Chen Fan's gaze swept and he even found black shoe polish and brushes from Golden Rooster in the corner. The toilet was still an imported smart toilet from Japan. It truly deserves to be a 5-star hotel. Chen Fan sat on the double bed and found that the sheets were actually made of silk, which felt icy and cool to the touch. Chen Fan lay directly on the double bed, which was really comfortable. After Chen Fan finished washing up, he lay down on the soft double bed and soon fell asleep. Chen Fan was interrupted by the sudden ringing of the phone. "Hello, I am a salesperson from XX Community. May I ask if you need a house in XX Community? I have a big discount here." A sales phone call caused Chen Fan to wake up from his sleep. "Sorry, I don't have any plans to buy a house yet," Chen Fan hung up the phone. People nowadays are really hardworking. They started calling themselves to promote their business so early. Chen Fan could only silently shake his head, rushing around for the sake of life, and then blacklisted the phone number from earlier. Although I appreciate the salesperson's hard work, he does disturb my rest. After Chen Fan finished washing up, he thought of going downstairs to have some breakfast. This type of 5-star hotel usually provides breakfast. Chen Fan walked to the restaurant and found that breakfast is quite rich, with at least hundreds of different options available. Chen Fan finished his breakfast briefly, thinking about going to find channels to purchase passenger ships today and preparing in advance. Chapter 5. Purchase of Luxury Passenger Ships. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Now Chen Fan wants to buy 2 passenger ships, but there is no channel, so he is in a hurry. At this moment, he remembered that Mr. Zhou of Xuantong Group had just acquired a private luxury passenger ship. Chen Fan laughed out loud and said, "Isn't this just a ready-made network?" Chen Fan took out his phone directly, found Mr. Zhou's phone number, and dialed it directly. "Good morning, Mr. Zhou. Have you woken up yet? Mr. Chen, do you have anything to do with me? You probably don't know about the previous equity issue. Now you regret it. Mr. Zhou, are you really joking? I still have the spirit of a contract. How could I just say, back out, on a signed contract? I just wanted to ask you something. So this is it. I don't know what Mr. Chen has to ask. I just want to ask where you bought your luxury Corolla from. Can you recommend it to me? I also want to buy 2 boats to play with. Of course it's possible. Why don't you come to our company today and I specifically recommend it to you? Chen Fan was very happy to hear that Mr. Zhou had specifically introduced him and got to know him. Chen Fan hung up the phone between the two. I have almost bought everything now. Only the passenger ship in front of us is left. I hope the price won't be too high then. Chen Fan drove his Mercedes-Benz towards the Xuantong group. Everyone in the Xuantong group knew Chen Fan, and the security guard at the door did not stop him. He directly allowed Chen Fan to enter the top floor and directly went to Mr. Zhou's office. Mr. Zhou, I didn't expect to arrive so early. Huh, Mr. Chen. Don't be so polite, let's have some tea first. Mr. Li will come over later. Mr. Li. Yeah. Let me introduce you to Mr. Li, who sells passenger ships. Let's meet and have a chat then. The passenger ship I bought that day cost me 3 billion dragon coins. You can have a good conversation with him today, it might be cheaper. Mr. Chen, come and have some tea. This is the best Longjing tea of the year. Chen Fan took a sip and found that the taste was indeed not bad. Chen Fan immediately spoke up and said, Mr. Zhou, I'm not sure if you can cut it off. I want to buy some of this tea from you. Mr. Zhou smiled and said, isn't that just this little tea? I have plenty here. I'll give you 2 pounds of tea as a gift. What else should I buy? I took a big advantage of it that day. Both of them laughed. The two of them were discussing the future while drinking tea. Of course, Chen Fan would not tell him that he was about to reach the end of the world. This was his way of survival, and he would not tell anyone who had little to do with him. 2 people were chatting enthusiastically, and then a handsome young man in his 30s came in. Mr. Zhou stood up instantly, and Chen Fan followed him to stand up. Chen Fan knew that Mr. Li should have arrived. After greeting the young man in front of him, Mr. Zhou began to introduce himself. Mr. Li in front of me is the young master of the largest shipyard in Longhua. Then he started introducing Chen Fan's background to Mr. Li. Both sides have gained a mutual understanding. Both sides sat down, and Mr. Zhou didn't chat about anything else. He directly got to the main topic. Mr. Chen, if you want to buy 2 passenger ships to play with, I will act as an intermediary in the middle to get in touch with you. Chen Fan actually went aboard Mr. Zhou's luxurious passenger ship, and he was quite satisfied with that ship. Chen Fan said directly, I want to buy 2 passenger ships that are the same as Mr. Zhou. Do you have any in stock with Mr. Li? I'm thinking of going out to sea and having some fun in the next 2 days, which would be perfect for a vacation. Mr. Li smiled and said, since it's an old customer introduced by Mr. Zhou, everyone is quite familiar with it, so we don't need a lot of money. Just the same price as Mr. Zhou is good. I wonder what Mr. Chen thinks. Chen Fan smiled at Mr. Li and said, I want to buy 2 ships directly this time. Can't I offer a discount? Am I a cash direct transaction? I'll pay and deliver the goods on one hand. After pondering for a moment, Mr. Li said directly, now I see that you are a customer introduced by Mr. Zhou, who is my friend. Let me give you a 95% discount, mainly because we use the strongest materials and focus on safety performance. Chen Fan thought it would be almost there. That's it then. I don't know when we can pick up the goods. At any time, we happen to have 2 luxury passenger ships that have just been built. If you have time now, we can go through the formalities and prepare to take them away. Chen Fan likes this kind of cheerful language, without any hesitation. After bidding farewell to Mr. Zhou, Chen Fan directly got into his Mercedes-Benz and followed Mr. Li's car towards his shipyard. Now they are in Hongnan district, and they are going to Dongpu district, which is still quite far away. However, both of their faces were filled with joy. One is that this business can earn a lot of money, and the other is that it can obtain post-apocalyptic survival passenger ships, which can better cope with post-apocalyptic floods. In Chen Fan's eyes, no matter how much money, he must definitely win the passenger ship. Now, after Mr. Zhou's introduction, I didn't expect to easily buy 2 luxury passenger ships. An hour later, the two of them drove directly into the shipyard. Mr. Li led Chen Fan to the 2 passenger ships that were about to be delivered, and specially invited Chen Fan to visit them, showing him his shipbuilding strength. After Chen Fan saw the ship in front of him, his eyes lit up with a scorching light. Indeed, it's okay. But Chen Fan couldn't express his joyful expression, he could only use language that was just passable. After a brief tour, the two of them entered Mr. Li's office directly. Previously, they had been comparing products from various stores, but this was the only one in front of them with no branch store. The two of them began to sign the purchase contract and agree on the delivery time, and Chen Fan directly paid Mr. Li 570 million dragon coins. Chen Fan asked, "How long does it take for you to handle the procedures for the passenger ship on your end?" "It will take 2 days anyway. I'm a bit late at this time. Please try to hurry up on your end and put in a lot of effort. I'm in a hurry to go out to sea and play. Let's do it this way, I won't let you run errands for nothing. Mr. Li, I'll give your employees 10 million yuan in running errands, and I hope it can be processed tomorrow." After hearing this, the people below immediately guaranteed that there was no problem and that they would give Chen General Office a beautiful appearance. Chen Fan finally realized what money means, it can really make ghosts grind. After getting things done, Chen Fan got into a Mercedes-Benz car and General Manager Li escorted the tycoon out of his shipyard. Chapter 6. Crossbow and Arrow. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After purchasing 2 luxurious passenger ships, Chen Fan plans to buy some self-defense weapons. At this moment, he thought of his former good friend, who was a fan of crossbows and arrows, with very strong manual skills. He made a lot of crossbows himself, so it seems that he can buy some from him. Chen Fan took out his phone and called his good friend directly, "Li Tao, this is Chen Fan. Have you been busy lately?" The two started chatting for a while, but later Chen Fan got straight to the main topic. "Do you still enjoy playing with and making crossbows?" "Of course it is. The crossbow has become my little companion now. I plan to buy some crossbows and arrows from you, and I want to go to the mountains to hunt some game." Chen Fan deliberately lied. "Brother Fan, why did you mention to me whether to buy or not? Come over, our brothers haven't seen each other for a long time. You can take as much as you want when the time comes." He didn't want to tell Li Tao his true intentions. The two agreed on a time, and Chen Fan planned to go and pick up the equipment. He could also meet his brother Li Tao. In the Dragon Kingdom, such destructive weapons are not allowed to exist, but the Dragon Kingdom will vigorously attack them. In order to obtain these weapons as soon as possible, Chen Fan drove his Mercedes-Benz Jeep directly towards Li Tao's residence. Li Tao's family lives in Xishan district, and he has specifically found a place with beautiful mountains and waters, which can cultivate his character while also fulfilling his hobbies. Chen Fan had just left the community when suddenly an old man appeared in front of him. He walked directly to Chen Fan's car and lay down. Holy crap! Chen Fan immediately blurted out a foul word, perhaps he had encountered a professional matchmaker. This is really unfortunate going out. He is afraid of encountering it, so he still follows the fine traditional virtue of respecting the old and loving the young. Hurry up and get off the car to check if there is anything big about the old man. Grandpa, are you okay? Chen Fan quickly helped the old man up. The old man grabbed Chen Fan's arm directly. "It was you who bumped into me. I can't move now. You want to compensate me?" Chen Fan said, let me give you a 121st, and then make a police call. The old man still held on to Chen Fan and didn't let go. Chen Fan also realized that the old man in front of him was indeed going to knock himself off. Perhaps seeing that his card is better makes him feel wealthy. Now, every minute of Chen Fan's life is particularly precious, and he doesn't want to waste his time here. He could only marvel at how society could be like this now. He could see that the old man in front of him was just trying to blackmail his own money. He asked directly, how much money do you really want? The old man directly opened his mouth and said, I want 1 million. My goodness, you really don't know how to live or die. Is your old life worth 1 million? Do you really dare to open your mouth? Now Chen Fan has no choice but to rush the time. For Chen Fan, 1 million is just a drop in the bucket. He doesn't care about this amount of money, but it's a bit disgusting to him. If we go to the hospital or the police station, it is impossible to solve it in a short time, and the time will be very long. He then said to the old man in front of him, you can have money if you want, and I can give it to you. But please write me a proof document and don't pester me in the future. That's no problem, I also have principles. I'm just forced by life and have no choice. As long as the money arrives, I won't bother you anymore. The old man gave Chen Fan a bank card number, and Chen Fan quickly transferred the money without hesitation to understand this matter. It's really something that has completely ruined Chen Fan's good mood. After solving the problem of the old man hitting porcelain, Chen Fan got into his Mercedes-Benz and started driving towards Li Tao's house in Xishan district. After that, everything went smoothly and nothing bad happened. An hour later, Chen Fan finally arrived at Li Tao's doorstep and found that Li Tao really enjoyed life quite well. This is a 3-story small Western-style building he built himself. In front of it is a river, and behind it is a big mountain. The scenery is quite pleasant. If things don't happen in the future, being in charge here would also be a great way to enjoy life. Chen Fan walked up to the door and pressed the doorbell. Not long after, a young man of the same age as Chen Fan opened the door. Fan Gu, you're quite fast. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on inside. Due to the incident with the old man on the road, it was already noon when Chen Fan arrived at Li Tao's house. Li Tao specifically asked his family chef to prepare a sumptuous lunch for Chen Fan, and the two of them planned to have a small drink at noon. Chen Fan directly declined Li Tao's offer. Because he may have something else to do in the afternoon, drinking alcohol may delay his schedule. Besides, he was still driving over at the time, otherwise he might have caused unnecessary trouble in the future. He didn't want to spend his next days in detention. The two of them started chatting, and Li Tao specifically said that the lunch we prepared for you today was all personally hunted. Ha ha ha, Xiao Tao. So brother is so important in your heart. Brother Fan, don't tease me. If it weren't for you, I might have gone to see the King of Hell. Originally, Chen Fan and Li Tao were classmates in college. Once, they went boating together in the lake. Unexpectedly, Li Tao suddenly fell into the water. None of the classmates in the class were prepared to jump into the water to save him, because Li Tao didn't know how to swim at all. Chen Fan didn't hesitate to jump into the water and saved Li Tao to the shore. Therefore, the two became good friends without hesitation. The two of them started chatting about the past while eating. After drinking and eating, Li Tao led Chen Fan to his arsenal. Chen Fan was dazzled by the various crossbows and arrows in front of him, and Chen Fan didn't particularly understand this. He said directly to Li Tao, Xiao Tao, can you get me some of the most useful and powerful ones? 3 sets of launch devices, and 500 bows and arrows ready. Half an hour later, it was discovered that 3 large boxes had already been packed. Li Tao was holding a pre-installed crossbow and arrow launcher, and he wanted to personally demonstrate it to Chen Fan. He was afraid that Chen Fan wouldn't know how to use the crossbow and arrow. Chen Fan was also very clever, and found that the launch device in front of him was particularly useful and powerful, with an effective range of up to 500 meters. Chen Fan looked at the items and thought to ask how much they cost specifically. Li Tao shook his head and said, "Brother Fan, talking to me about money hurts our relationship. I'll give these to you." Chen Fan did not refuse to directly move all these equipment onto the car. After bidding farewell to Li Tao, Chen Fan drove directly back to the hotel. Chapter 7. Arrival of Materials. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Chen Fan returned to the hotel, Mr. Zhang from Baoyan's supermarket unexpectedly called him early in the morning. Chen Fan was particularly surprised to see Zhang Ming's caller ID. It seems that their work efficiency is quite good. Surprisingly, in just 2 days, so many supplies were obtained. Chen Fan directly took off the connect button. "Good morning, Mr. Zhang. I was wondering if you called me and everything I needed was ready." "Mr. Chen, you're still teasing me. We've transported all the nearby supplies and feel like they should be enough for you. That's why we decided to call you. I'll go to your company now." "Okay, Mr. Chen. I'm waiting for your grand visit at the company." Chen Fan was surprised by Zhang Ming's efficiency in handling affairs, as long as he could get what he needed. Chen Fan was filled with joy and prepared to go to Baoyan Supermarket Group. "Mr. Chen, welcome. Let's go and see the supplies you need together." After Chen Fan saw Zhang Ming, he immediately rushed into the topic without hesitation. Zhang Ming also wanted to quickly sign the contract. "Get the remaining money on your own as soon as possible. In this way, my performance is also very impressive, and I will receive more important positions at that time. The top leader of the company is not a dream, as one's own contract can support the group's annual revenue." Chen Fan said, "Let's not rush to sign the contract for now. Let's go take a look at the goods this time. Let's bring the contract with us. After I finish reviewing the goods, as long as it satisfies me, we can sign the contract on site and I will transfer the money directly to you. Then those goods will all be mine. What do you think, Mr. Zhang?" Zhang Ming laughed heartily and said, "Everything must be arranged by Mr. Chen. It seems that the only way to get promoted and wealthy is this time. You must flatter Mr. Chen well." Chen Fan didn't know what Zhang Ming was thinking in front of him, but he knew that there was a hint of flattery in front of him. Then the two of them got into the car and started driving towards the economic development zone. Not long after, the two of them arrived at the 500 warehouses rented by Baoyan Supermarket Group in the economic development zone. Some of these warehouses were cold storage, while the rest were normal warehouses that could hold daily necessities, etc. Now Zhang Ming has instructed his subordinates to open all 500 warehouses and have Chen Fan take a look at each one. Chen Fan saw that every warehouse in front of him was filled with various materials, and he began to look at the materials in 500 warehouses one by one. Chen Fan was still very satisfied with the supplies in front of him, but what made him less satisfied was that there wasn't a lot of fuel. Chen Fan decided to wait until all these supplies were collected before purchasing some fuel himself. If there is no fuel for oneself, but there is no guarantee in the store and heating in the house. Chen Fan said directly to Zhang Ming, "Can you give me the details of these warehouses? Then we can sign the contract and I will give you the remaining payment." After receiving the details provided by Zhang Ming, Chen Fan began to carefully inspect them. Of course, he could not inspect them one by one but could only randomly select some. After Chen Fan saw the details provided and found that there were no issues. He looked at the details and found that the total amount reached 135.724 million yuan and a quarter. Chen Fan said to Zhang Ming, "I don't think there are any issues with these materials. Let's start discussing the amount of the contract and order." Zhang Ming smiled and said to Chen Fan, "Mr. Chen, considering your strength, we have also given you our biggest discount. Our board of directors has decided to directly erase the zero for you. I don't know how you feel. When Chen Fan heard that Zhang Ming had to wipe himself out, wouldn't that be 10 billion yuan? Yes, Mr. Chen. This is our group's greatest sincerity towards you. Chen Fan did not show any affectation and signed the contract directly. Then the 10 billion yuan was directly transferred to the account of Baoyan Supermarket Group. Both parties completed the transaction at an unexpected speed. Zhang Ming saw that the money had been received and thought of saying goodbye. Now it is in line with Chen Fan's wishes, as they have all left and can collect the massive amount of supplies in front of them. The two of them began to be polite, and then Zhang Ming drove away, leaving Chen Fan alone at the scene. Chen Fan is waiting for you to gradually leave and start his next collection. Chen Fan opened the door of the warehouse in front of him, and then slowly closed it. He didn't want others to see this scene, mainly because it was too shocking. He gently stroked the ring on his finger and thought to himself about the supplies in front of him. In the blink of an eye, all the supplies in the warehouse disappeared, leaving an empty warehouse in front of Chen Fan. Chen Fan went through 500 warehouses one by one, and after nearly 3 hours of busy work, he finally collected all the materials. Chen Fan finally showed a relieved expression. Chen Fan also received a call from Mr. Li stating that the procedures for the luxury cruise ship have been completed. Chen Fan was also overjoyed. It seemed that he could finish all these things today. Chen Fan rushed to the shipyard in Dongpu and asked them to drive the passenger ship to a deserted place. Chen Fan drove away all the crew members, leaving himself alone. He used the same method to put all the luxury passenger ships into the ring. Chen Fan then began to think about solving the fuel problem and went directly to a local refinery. Chen Fan found the director of the refinery and said directly, "I want to purchase all the gasoline and diesel in your factory. You can now count how much finished oil there is." The factory director in front of him was directly frightened by Chen Fan's huge appetite, and he quickly invited Chen Fan into the room. Then he asked someone to tally up and soon people came back. There were still 10,000 tons of gasoline and 15,000 tons of diesel left. Chen Fan thought for a moment and thought that these fuels should be enough for his own use. Then he said to the factory director, "I'll take all these fuels. Let's sign the contract and make the payment. I can directly receive the goods." Now the factory director has been in a confused state. It's unimaginable that so much trading volume was completed in the blink of an eye. Chen Fan instructed them to put all these already loaded oil directly into the warehouse. Without hesitation, Chen Fan directly transferred 250 million dragon coins to the refinery. Then he asked the refinery to hand over the keys in the warehouse to him. Chen Fan still used the previous method to put all the fuel stored in the warehouse into the ring. Now that most of the supplies are ready, it's time to go home and check on the progress of the renovation. Chapter 8. The Arrival of the Ice Age. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chen Fan is preparing to return to his home, just at this moment. Chen Fan's phone rang, and it turned out that the beautiful CEO had called him, indicating that the decoration had been completed. Chen Fan was able to connect the call directly. "Hello, Mr. Lon. Mr. Chen, we are fortunate enough to have finally completed the work. When do you have time to come and inspect it? Wait for me at home first, I'm walking home now." After Chen Fan arrived at home, he found that his home was completely new. He entered the house directly, and after seeing Chen Fan return, Lan Tian ran over to Chen Fan's side. Chen Fan saw the tall wall in front of him and confirmed that he had built it according to his own requirements. He saw that no one could easily break into the wall he had built. "Now all of my own doors have been replaced with fully automatic ones, and the thickness of the steel plate can withstand rocket attacks." Walking into the villa, I found that the floor and walls had been renovated, and it was evident that Lan Tian had indeed put in some effort. Chen Fan was still very satisfied with Lan Tian's level, and then he directly transferred the remaining amount to Lan Tian as agreed. After Chen Fan saw off Lan Tian, he felt particularly tired after the busy days and decided to take a nap. When Chen Fan woke up, he found that it was almost evening. When Chen Fan looked through the balcony and saw the colorful scenery of burning clouds outside the window, he marveled at the ingenuity of nature. But he was also deeply lost in thought at this moment, often accompanied by great danger under beautiful scenery. He doesn't know how many people will lose their lives tonight because of this. Although Chen Fan is kind-hearted, he is also powerless and unable to tell others about the upcoming end of the world. Everyone is selfish, and Chen Fan is no exception. Even if he wants to tell others, they won't believe Chen Fan, they just think he's a lunatic who just ran out of a mental hospital. Chen Fan couldn't help but recall that 30 years ago, a terrible disaster occurred in a medium-sized city in the northern part of Longhua. In the days leading up to the disaster, fishermen were able to harvest a full harvest every day, all returning with a full load. That night, beautiful auroras appeared over the city, colorful and unforgettable. Many people recorded this moment. Unfortunately, in the early hours of the morning, while people were still sleeping, an unprecedented earthquake suddenly occurred, with the death and injury toll reaching 300,000 people. The entire city was instantly flattened and turned into a human purgatory. Drip by drop Chen Fan was suddenly brought back to reality by the voice of WeChat. He took out his phone and opened WeChat, only to see someone in the owner group of Jinqiu Shangqing community suddenly send a message. Did you see the burning clouds this evening? Hey. I was really tired today and accidentally fell asleep. When I woke up, I found that the fire cloud was gone. It's really a pity. I didn't see such a beautiful scenery. He sighed several times in a row. Not long. Someone replied to him, I saw it, I saw it. I even took a lot of photos specifically. Can you send a few photos so that I can also pretend to be cute on my social media? Suddenly, around 10 photos were posted among the homeowners in the community. The photos were taken exceptionally beautifully, reaching the level of a professional photographer. Chen Fan discovered one of them, which turned out to be a young girl standing in front of the entrance of the community with a pose, and behind the girl was the colorful fire cloud. Chen Fan, a young woman, is so youthful and energetic, especially full of vitality. Many people agreed and said, Huo Sheiyan is really beautiful. Occasionally, there are also some who praise young girls. People in the group were discussing the beautiful scenery of today's evening with all sorts of chatter. After a light sigh, Chen Fan said, behind things that are often more beautiful, they are always the most dangerous. When Chen Fan saw the beautiful scenery this evening, he knew that it was the last reminder from nature to the world of the impending danger. As the sun set completely, Zhonghai City fell directly into darkness. To Chen Fan's surprise, the sky was particularly dark tonight, with no moonlight or starlight. Only colorful neon lights illuminate the roads of the city, big and small. After watching the non-nutritious chat in the homeowner group, he felt particularly bored and directly withdrew from the group chat in the community. At this moment, Chen Fan's stomach made a protest sound, and he realized that he hadn't had dinner yet. Chen Fan thought for a moment and asked what to eat tonight. After some thought, Chen Fan plans to cook a big meal by himself tonight and enjoy a feast of delicious food. So Chen Fan specially took out a battle axe steak from the ring, and then took out a bottle of 82-year-old Lafite. Chen Fan is a bit confused, steak paired with red wine. If only there was another beautiful woman accompanying me to enjoy a candlelit dinner. Chen Fan chuckled foolishly. A gentle breeze blew by and he walked out of his imagination. So he continued to prepare dinner tonight, skillfully cleaning and marinating the tomahawk steak. 15 minutes later, he started frying and grilling the tomahawk steak, not long after. The aroma of steak wafted out from the kitchen, making Chen Fan keep swallowing saliva. High-end ingredients are often cooked using the most simple methods. After the steak was cooked, he sprinkled black pepper sauce on it and prepared a knife and fork. Then he opened Lafite with a bottle opener and poured the red wine into a tall glass. He was eating steak while drinking top-notch red wine, and his life was truly enjoyable. After Chen Fan had dinner, he sat quietly for a while. He decided to exercise today, after a few days of hard work. I realized that my physical fitness still needs further improvement, otherwise I wouldn't be able to cope with the environment of the future apocalypse. He worked out until 11 o'clock in the evening, and then went to the bathroom to take a comfortable hot bath, washing away all the sweat stains on his body. After taking a shower, he changed into clean clothes and lay on the sofa lost in thought. As time passes by minute by second. Watching July 10, 2040, 0.00 is about to arrive. Chen Fan started making the final preparations. He set the fireplace on fire in advance, and in order to avoid the arrival of the apocalypse, the indoor temperature dropped too low, causing himself to be frostbitten. A cold wind blew by, and the temperature outside the window began to drop sharply. Snowflakes also began to drift in the sky. Flying snow in July is a rare occurrence in the entire Dragon Kingdom. This is an extremely rare natural phenomenon that instantly exploded on the headlines of various media outlets in Dragon Country. Chapter 9. The Carnival of Owners. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Although Chen Fan knew in advance what would happen next, he did not expect it to be so serious. Zhonghai City is located in the southern region, and in winter, the temperature is usually above 0 degrees Celsius. It has no concept of underfloor heating or heating. Suddenly being attacked by such cold air, the people in Zhonghai City were completely unprepared for the beating. Many people would never have expected such a sudden low temperature and heavy snowfall to occur in the scorching summer. But in the southern region, they have never seen such heavy snow before, and now every homeowner seems to have discovered a new continent, appearing particularly excited. When Chen Fan heard the continuous beeping of WeChat, he directly clicked on the community owner group on WeChat. Chen Fan discovered that the group of homeowners in the community became even more lively. Seeing many people celebrating, this once-in-a-century heavy snow. Surprisingly, someone suggested going downstairs to have a snowball fight and then building a big snowman. But unexpectedly, this person's proposal received a lot of support. After a blizzard overnight, there is already over 10 centimeters of snow on the ground. Chen Fan saw through the window several people who were not afraid of the cold, wearing thick down jackets, and running downstairs to start a snowball fight. They all had a great time playing. These people split into two groups and started throwing snowballs at each other. They also occasionally take photos of each other and post them in the homeowners group to show off. With these individuals taking action, more and more people are joining this entertainment activity. Chen Fan turned on the TV and saw news about Zhonghai City being broadcasted. Given that the city has experienced a once-in-a-century heavy snowfall, the current urban snow accumulation is particularly severe. Until now, the trend of heavy snowfall has not decreased. According to research by the municipal government, in order to ensure the safety of public transportation and passengers, all bus routes in this city have been temporarily suspended. At the same time, all civil servants in various cities and departments are working from home. Some office workers in the homeowner group have received notices from the company one after another. Due to the low temperature and blizzard in the city, work has been temporarily suspended and all have been changed to working from home. They shared all this good news with the homeowners group, allowing everyone to feel the joy in their hearts. In their view, working from home is simply a blessing from heaven. A few of them saw the thick snow on the ground and decided to build a big snowman next to the flower bed in the community. They specially draped it with a red scarf, wore an unknown hat, painted its nose and eyes to make it look lifelike, and then sent their masterpiece to the owner group to show off. Chen Fan looked at the group of people outside and sighed. They are really newborn calves who are not afraid of tigers. They seem to have forgotten that the temperature outside has reached -60 or 70 degrees Celsius, and they have even engaged in such intense exercise. Isn't this seeking death? The temperature outside is so low. If you are not careful, you may lose your precious life. But Chen Fan was just looking at the play and didn't want to remind these ignorant people. They played outdoors for less than half an hour, and the piercing cold wind and snow had penetrated their clothes. They no longer have the happy appearance they had when they first ran down. They expended too much energy in the cold environment, causing their body temperature to drop sharply. In order to survive, they had no choice but to quickly run back to their own homes. They couldn't help but curse and say, "What kind of weather is this in Nima? It snows in July. I thought I could go out and play for a while, but I didn't expect the temperature to drop to such a low level. I couldn't resist the low temperature outside." Chen Fan saw that just one night on the ground, more than 10 centimeters of snow had accumulated. If it continues for the next month, I don't know to what extent the snow will accumulate. Chen Fan can only enlighten himself. Even if he hesitates, it is of no use. Take one step at a time, and do everything according to fate. After these homeowners went crazy, reality has given them a big slap in the face, which is the cold weather. Now they can only turn on the air conditioning inside the house for heating. Although the weather is relatively cold now, it has not affected people's normal lives. Some people are struggling with the hard-won heavy snowfall. As the saying goes, snowy and rainy days match hotpot very well. Some family and friends in Jinqiu Shangqing community started a hotpot trip, gathering people who are usually busy with work at their homes for a meal, making it enjoyable and harmonious. They occasionally share their joy in the homeowner group to show off. Chen Fan had no choice but to see these homeowners showing such disrespect towards nature. Although he had ideas to warn them, he also did not want to become the target of public criticism and let those who thought they were right discover him. Chen Fan now needs to constantly endure it. It's still in the early stages of the apocalypse, but as time goes on, people realized the extraordinary nature of this blizzard. But by then, it's already a bit too late. Chen Fan was in his villa, wearing short sleeves, watching their various performances. Although he wanted to remind these self-righteous neighbors, why should he tell them that the homeowners in front of him are not related to him? At that time, I may also be betrayed by them, and there may be a play between a farmer and a snake, which would put me in a dangerous situation. Chen Fan, after surviving in his previous life, has now become a cautious person who is always prepared for danger. Afraid of helping others with one's kindness, one may end up on the streets and suffer the consequences of sacrificing one's life. Chen Fan is now just watching the various entertainment activities of the homeowners. Then I started practicing the crossbow and arrow I brought back from Li Tao's house at home. I didn't have much foundation myself, so now I can only work hard to make up for my shortcomings. I have no time to practice more. To prevent panic in the event of a crisis. Chen Fan doesn't know if he's smart or just a little bit good at it. After a simple demonstration by Li Tao on how to use it that day, Chen Fan began to patiently train today. Unexpectedly, the training effect was surprisingly good, and he could achieve a 100-step breakthrough every time. Chen Fan is very satisfied with his training results today. This has become his ultimate move, which can have unexpected effects and become a weapon for self-defense in the future. Chapter 10. Crazy Material Robbery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time flies, and the sun and moon shuttle by. Time passed quickly, and now it was the third day of sudden cooling and heavy snow. Outside the window, the howling cold wind still blew, and there were snowflakes like goose feathers. The owners looked at the heavy snow outside, but there was no sign of it decreasing. Previously, they heard rumors that this is just a sudden cooling and snowfall caused by the Siberian cold air flow, which will not last for a long time, at most for 2 or 3 days. At that time, the heavy snow will stop and the low temperature will slowly rise. But now it's already the third day, the temperature is getting lower and lower, and the snowflakes seem to be getting bigger. They all dialed the phone number of the street office, but the street office couldn't even say 1, 2, or 3. They can only appease the emotions of making phone calls, don't talk nonsense, cause unnecessary panic, and make sure to comply with the government's arrangements. In fact, the people in these companion offices are also very panicked, and they have no internal information. Now they are also in urgent need of supplies. This made the people start to panic because they found that the government's messages had no basis for implementation, and until now, the government has not taken any further measures. Now the government has chosen to remain silent, and when people see such a situation, they cannot sit idly by and do not want to put their hope for survival in the hands of others. Now, watching this situation happen, they are all leaving their homes and heading towards Baoyan Supermarket, the largest supermarket in Zhonghai City. Despite facing the harsh cold and piercing blizzard, they are all trying to grab more supplies. Baoyan Supermarket was instantly overcrowded, becoming a rare sight among crowded people. Everyone wanted to hurry to the supermarket and buy more supplies, so that they could handle any situation that came. As the saying goes, if you have food in your hand, don't panic in your heart. Most people have this idea, as all the supplies in the supermarket have been snatched away. The supermarket is severely short of supply, and all the shelves in the supermarket have been emptied. Additionally, the warehouse in the supermarket has run out of any supplies. Mr. Zhang, all the inventory in our supermarket is now out of stock. There are still many people waiting for us to restock. What should we do now? Now Zhang Ming is also feeling dizzy, he never expected such a serious thing to happen before. Zhang Ming decided to call in the senior management of the company and quickly hold a meeting to discuss the next matters. You go and comfort the people outside first, so as not to cause unnecessary trouble. Not long after, the top executives of the company came to the company. To make a long story short, the situation is very bad now. We no longer have reserves of materials. Should we just close down and close down now? Can we still transfer supplies from other places to Zhonghai City now? There is also a situation of frantic looting of supplies from other places, and even if they don't have enough of their own supplies, they will definitely not be able to transfer them to us anymore. The directors have decided that they can only report to the government. After communicating with senior government officials, what should we do next? Finally, the board of directors decided to let Zhang Ming carry out the next steps. Zhang Ming had no choice but to grit his teeth and directly dialed the phone of the mayor of Zhonghai City, saying, "The leader has run out of stored supplies and there are still many people blocking the entrance of our supermarket. What should we do now? We cannot drive them all out now, as there is a possibility of riots. We hope the leader can solve this problem." "Okay, we know about this matter. We will handle it when the time comes. You should comfort these residents well and not let them have any adverse social impact." After handling this matter, Zhang Ming can finally sit down and rest. Zhang Ming seemed to realize something when he saw the madness of the people in front of him. Now he realized that Chen Fan had been frantically buying supplies the other day. Did he know in advance that this kind of environment would occur now? Will he predict ahead of time? This idea is a bit unbelievable, I wouldn't believe it at all, maybe it's a coincidence. Now that Chen Fan has so many resources, he must be a king in the future. Zhang Ming asked his people to quickly come to his office. "There is something I want you to do now. It must be kept confidential and never let anyone know." "Mr. Zhang, I understand this principle. Can you check if there are any materials left in the warehouse we rented in the Economic and Technological Development Zone? I didn't expect that when my people came back to report to me, they would all confirm my hypothesis." Zhang Ming seems to have discovered a new continent, which is very important news and may be of great use in the future. Now it's not just Zhonghai City, but the entire Dragon Kingdom is in a frenzy of purchasing goods. Due to the current situation, there have been some people who hoard local energy and make a fortune. They rely on their own channels to sell at high prices to the general public. Now their business is very prosperous, and Chen Fan sighed directly when he saw these speculators. They still did not realize the terrifying nature of this incident. They just think about how to make money, rather than storing these materials themselves. What they don't know is that in the future, there will be an unimaginable surge in supplies, and whoever has the supplies will be the boss of the future. In the post-apocalyptic environment, money will be nothing more than a piece of waste paper. It has no effect at all. It's hard to persuade damn ghosts with good words. Chen Fan can only watch them perform. Now the Longhua government is seeing the situation gradually getting out of control, and they have to take over directly. Require each household to receive their own portion of food as needed, each time for 7 days, not too much. A big cabbage, a few carrots, a few onions, a few tomatoes, cucumbers, and a bag of 5 pounds of flour. Although it may not be very abundant, food and clothing can still be solved. Now that the Dragon Kingdom government directly intervenes, it can prevent further escalation of the riots. Now that there is sufficient supply of materials, the previously turbulent situation has developed steadily. Chen Fan saw that the situation was gradually stabilizing, and he knew that it was only temporary and could only last for a period of time. As time went on, the role of the government would gradually decrease. For the current situation, Chen Fan doesn't care about it. What is the relationship between the lives of outsiders and himself? Chen Fan is living a very comfortable life.